U.S. President Donald Trump faced wide-ranging questions last night about the COVID-19 pandemic as he took part in a virtual town hall in an unusual location. Take a look at it. It was from the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, turned into a TV studio for Fox News. Trump made a bleak new prediction about the death toll in the United States, and he made what critics say is an unrealistic prediction about the development of a vaccine. Our senior Washington editor, Lindsay Duncombe, is following this today, was following it last night. 2 hours long, Lindsay, and a town hall that was keeping the fact checkers busy. What stood out to you?
Well, just big picture, what this is really all about is the White House switching its message from the daily medical information, in which the president gave dubious at best medical advice, sometimes contrary to his own scientists, to a refocus on reopening. This was all about getting America back to work. And if you look at the setting and the mostly friendly hosts, it was very much about the spectacle as much as it was about the substance. But as you mentioned, a few things about what the president said stood out. When you talk about a vaccine, Donald Trump said that he believes a vaccine could be possible by the end of the year, before the clock turns to January. That timeline is way on the optimistic side and contrary to what scientists would perceive as being realistic, although everyone is saying people are working as hard as they can. Donald Trump certainly on the most optimistic end of a vaccine timeline. When it comes to the death toll in the United States, the president admitted that the number of deaths in the U.S. could indeed go up to 100,000. They're currently sitting at more than 67,000 people who have lost their lives because of coronavirus. But Donald Trump very much taking credit for even that death toll not being as high as it could have been, because there had been some models and estimates back in February and March that saw millions of Americans dying. This was very much Donald Trump trying to frame his own successes and blame his opponents. And it's becoming very clear that the opponent that Donald Trump sees geopolitically and the focus for that blame is China. He again blamed China for not being more transparent about the origin of the virus and getting the world really to the situation where it is right now. And the president expressed a definite desire to get everyone back to work. That is the title of this broadcast. However, he did acknowledge that there is fear and that this is a balancing act. Here's what Donald Trump had to say.
I think you can really have it both ways. I think a lot of people want to go back. They just want to go back. You see it every day. You see demonstrations all over the country, and those are meaningful demonstrations. Oh, it's big stuff. But you also have some people that are very scared. Probably everybody's scared when you get right down to it.
Interesting that the president describes those demonstrations as meaningful. Certainly, they're attention-grabbing. You know, seeing those protesters in Michigan with their weapons storming the legislature. But we have to remember, Heather, that these are small groups of very vocal people, not unlike the Tea Party in 2010. And if you look at the polling number, the majority of Americans, Republicans and Democrats, are wary of reopening too much, too fast, too soon. And we're really entering this sort of experimental zone with most states now opening to some extent, and people's behavior in terms of whether or not they participate in business as they normally would will begin to show just how quickly this economy could potentially rebound.
Reopening despite public health experts' warnings, and we'll be watching that today. We expect more of the reopening to continue in the U.S. Thank you, Lindsay Duncombe, our senior Washington editor.